Hello there guys, what is going on? SonOfChelsea back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea, covering the latest Chelsea news on a regular basis. Hope you guys had a good international break. It's pretty much over now. We saw the last few games in the previous days. Of course, Chelsea players featuring heavily. Last night we saw Mason Mount, Ben Chilwell and Reece James star in England's win. In particular, Mason has had a wonderful international break, and despite an injury scare, seems to be all good. I'm not quite sure in his fitness, just in terms of fatigue potentially, because he's played so much football over his international break, featured heavily in all three games for England, and it's a testament to how essential he is for Gareth Southgate, just as he's been essential for Thomas Tuchel recently. But Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Antonio Rudiger not having the best night, a pretty terrible night for Germany, losing 2-1 to Macedonia, an incredible result, a shock result in the qualifiers. And I'm going to speak about Timo Werner in today's episode, also about Chelsea bidding for a Brazilian star, a young star that it looks really promising, and I want to get into that player as well, and Chelsea potentially signing that player in the summer, and also giving a quick reaction once again to some more leaked images for Chelsea's home kit by Nike next season. I was a little bit more relaxed a few weeks ago on this, not as relaxed anymore, because I think it is a terrible kit. But before we get into any of that good stuff, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also hit the like button if you're enjoying the content, because it helps out the channel as well. Also want to say a massive thank you to the guys at Lucid FC for sponsoring Let's Talk Chelsea in 2021. You can get this hoodie that I'm wearing here, that I love wearing, the Crest hoodie, plus all the other gear you see me wearing pretty much in all videos with Lucid FC. Some great gear, very cool guys, Chelsea fans as well, so of course supporting a Chelsea content creator. And they've also got an Instagram giveaway as their new collection for spring and summer is released. To enter, simply like and follow their Lucid page, tag 2 friends in the comments below. You must be following Lucid on their Instagram page as well. The giveaway closes on April the 5th, so only a couple days now, so make sure you get involved. Link in the description box below. Winner will be randomly chosen and announced on the 6th of April, so make sure you get involved and can win yourself some Lucid gear. So thank you once again, Lucid, for sponsoring Let's Talk Chelsea in 2021. Let's start off with some transfer news, and this report from TNT Sport in Brazil claiming that Chelsea have made a 13 million bid, around 13 million, for Palmeiras midfielder Gabriel Menino. Apparently Chelsea, alongside the likes of Atletico Madrid, Spurs and Juventus, are looking at this highly rated youngster from Brazil, only 20 years old. And I was looking at some pieces trying to get some more information on Gabriel. The Brazilian Yaya Touré from this goal headline here, looking to step into Dani Alves' spot for Brazil. Gabriel combining both his ample experience in defence during his formative years and his more recent apprenticeship further up the field to become the kind of fullback Brazil are renowned for: fast, explosive, happy to take players on, and almost more comfortable in the opposition box than their own. And as well, this data analysis piece by Breaking the Lines that is so extensive and really gives you so much information about this player and a potential Chelsea signing in the summer. And I just want to take a few segments out here that I found really interesting, sort of delve into who this player is, the qualities that Menino possesses early on in his career, and what he could potentially bring to Chelsea. It says, while the central midfield position is Menino's bread and butter, his versatility is one of his biggest attributes. Menino is a player who covers every blade of grass and who can thrive in various positions and functions, whether that be on the right side or the left side of the pitch. Whereas he was used as a right wing back in the second leg against River Plate, he started on the right side of attack in the final against Santos. And then it references very high praise for Menino so early in his career, Joshua Kimmich from Bayern Munich. Both players have similar numbers in terms of their attacking actions, crosses, completed dribbles and progressive runs. These attributes demonstrate Menino's importance in the first phase of build-up, as his ability to retain possession, his skill at dribbling and evading the pressure, his change of pace to gain separation from his opponent, and his passing quality makes him one of the most press-resistant players in Brazil. And it looks at sort of his minutes played per position. He's played a lot across the pitch early on in his career, and I think this is a very important thing for me in terms of looking at his potential signing, if the report is true and accurate, and Chelsea are trying to sign Gabriel this summer. And also you see here this data breakdown in terms of comparing him to Joshua Kimmich from the Bundesliga 2018-19 season, and it fares pretty well for what is one of Europe's best midfielders, probably one of the best midfielders in the world, Joshua Kimmich, at the moment. So it's high praise for him. Also from the right back position, expected assists, it's really good for Menino as well, showing his creative side too. I quite like the idea of this signing. It's a low fee for Chelsea, given what we usually spend in the transfer market. You think about how little we actually spent on Edouard Mendy, who's turned out to be one of, I think, the signing of the season for Chelsea. Out of all the signings we brought in last summer, I think maybe Thiago Silva comes close. It's kind of hard with Thiago at the moment because, of course, he's been injured for quite a while. But Mendy, given the expectation level, given how little we spent on Mendy, he's been an incredible signing. So, and you look at actually the history, I've brought this up a lot of times, is that Chelsea actually seem to do better when we spend less on players. Not always, but it seems like some of our best signings are players that we don't spend, like break our transfer record for, and I think that could be the case here with such a young player who's so exciting. And versatility, I think, is important, not only in the modern game, having a player who can fill in a number of roles. We see it under Thomas Tuchel, Callum Hudson-Odoi playing as a right wing back and also a right and left winger. So having that versatility for a manager as flexible as Thomas Tuchel, I think is brilliant. At a club as chaotic as Chelsea, I think it's important for any player to have that versatility, because things in terms of player style, in terms of the coaching setup, can change so rapidly. So for a young player to be able to have that versatility so early on in his career, I think will potentially give him longevity at Chelsea if he succeeds and can play under a wide array of managers. I think the issue currently at Chelsea is we do have certain specialist players who can't survive the turbulence at Chelsea. And I think someone like Cesar Azpilicueta is such a great example of the longevity of a player. I know, of course, we're looking at Gabriel, a more offensive fullback, if he was to play as fullback, but just what Dave has done over his Chelsea career to still be at his age almost a guaranteed starter at this point, once again under Thomas Tuchel, I think could be really valuable in the current team. Now, playing as right back, I think he's going to struggle to play in that position for Chelsea because, of course, Reece James very much making that position his own. Of course, at the moment, we're playing a three-back system, so, of course, you look at him playing as right wing-back, but I do look into next season, potentially if Tuchel was to revert to a four-back system, you could maybe trust Dave there, but potentially Menino could fill in at times if Reece James was injured, suspended, maybe just a chance to give him some time in terms of rotation. So I think that'd be interesting as well. I mean, it's not the biggest fee for Chelsea to pay. It looks upwards of 20 million, which is a decent fee for a young player who could really thrive. And, apparently he scored some wonderful long shots. I'm not an expert. I definitely suggest go and watch more. Also go and read more, as I'll link in the description box below, about this player. 13 million bid. We'll have to see. Is this the first of Chelsea's potential summer business? Let me know your thoughts on this potential signing in the comments below. And I want to talk about Timo Werner as well for the second part of today's episode, pretty much. I saw this piece from Liam Toomey last week, so this is of course before last night, his terrible miss, and it was speaking about Timo Werner, why he must prove to Chelsea he is good enough to build a team around. As number 9 in this 3-4-2-1 system, the 25-year-old's minutes have come at the expense of Tammy Abraham and Olivier Giroud, while Christian Pulisic has been a primary victim of his frequent deployment in what Tuchel calls the left 10 position. He actually hasn't played that much as a striker. I mean, the argument you could make is that the only game he played as a forward was potentially the Atletico Madrid game, which I still argue, because, I mean, the positions Timo Werner takes up, we know where he is. He's going to be on that left forward position. And even against Liverpool, to me, it looked more like a fluid front three. I mean, at times, Mason looked like he was playing as a central striker as well. So that front three, Ziyech, Werner and Mount, predominantly Timo's playing on the left. And that is, depriving someone like Christian Pulisic the time to get into this team. It's depriving someone like Callum Hudson-Odoi time to get more minutes on that left wing position, where he probably is more natural, and you can probably see the future of his career too. He had a terrible miss last night. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I mean, do you want to go and watch it? I mean, it's not great viewing. It seems that once again, Timo, particularly in that moment, is rushing things. We've seen it with Chelsea. I remember the Everton game a few weeks back where on the break, when the game opened up, when there was more space to exploit, which is Timo Werner's, that's where he thrives. That's where he should be thriving for Chelsea. He rushes things, and that's a sign of a striker to me. He's, of course, lacking confidence, lacking belief. He's just desperate to score goals once again and get back in the rhythm and flow. It's weird because, of course, he started pretty well for Chelsea. He didn't start as well as, say, Diego Costa did, but he started with, was getting into the flow of things, was scoring quite a few goals, and then he went away on that international break for Germany in November, wasn't it? And I think it was a 6-0 defeat to Spain. He came back and he started missing a bundle of chances, and that's basically where the rest of his season has gone towards. his overall performance level, his work rate, I don't think you can ever question about Timo Werner. There's no sense to me, and I'm still going to say this, no sense to me Timo is going to fall into the trap of, say, Morata or Torres. I don't see a guy who's just giving up in the game in terms of mentally he's gone. He's still always busting a gut. I mean, these are standard things. I don't want to make up that these are things that should elevate a player. I expect it from every single Chelsea player on that pitch. I expect it from pretty much all professional footballers, basically. I mean, it's just standard. I mean, it's not an exceptional thing to work hard. I'm just saying if we're comparing and we're looking at concerns over strikers we brought in for a big fee, I do think, and it sort of gets a bit tiresome for me, the double standards. And this is not me singling out Timo Werner. Of course, you want to support this guy. Chelsea spent a lot of money on him last summer, and I think it'd be very flippant to let Timo Werner go very easily. And I think that there has been some rumours recently. I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think it will look great on the club, to be honest. I think actually signing a new forward at number 9 is going to threaten Tammy Abraham more than it would Timo Werner, to be honest, as we've seen currently under Thomas Tuchel and also a lot under Frank Lampard. He's rarely played as the number 9. I think we forget, and there's been quite revisionist history going on in terms of when we bought Timo Werner. You can go back and watch my reaction when it was broken by Matt Law last June, coming up to 12 months now, where we're going to sign him. We agreed to sign him, and it was an incredible day. I remember being absolutely stunned by the news, and the reason we bought Timo Werner was for his goals. I mean, nothing other than that. He's not technically as good as Diego Costa. He can't be someone that you can play the ball up to and he's going to hold it up, and technically I don't think he's as good as Diego in all facets, basically. But Timo Werner is a very good striker if you play towards his strength. The issue I think we've had all season with Werner is we haven't really played to his strengths. Number one, the league isn't really suited to a guy who exploits a lot of space, but also in a team that isn't really looking to counter-attack that much. I mean, Chelsea predominantly want to play with the ball. We want to control the ball under Thomas Tuchel, and that doesn't really favour Timo Werner. That doesn't excuse and doesn't rule out some of the bad misses he's had, but I think it's just a spiral of events, and we've seen it with Chelsea strikers before. I just think when I see, and I've constantly said this about Tammy Abraham, when I see the disregard for Tammy's stats at his age and disregard for what Tammy can bring, I mean, you do sort of roll your eyes and get a little bit like, shrug your shoulders when I see so much defensive Timo Werner when I'm looking at Tammy Abraham, who apparently isn't good enough for Chelsea. And this is my concern, if we don't sign a big striker, which I think we will, and I think should be probably Romelu Lukaku, then you shouldn't be letting Tammy Abraham go, because as we're seeing already, there are strikers. Chelsea are not a team blessed with clinical finishers, and that's what we expected of Timo Werner. And he doesn't look like a player that you can build your whole system around or trust to lead the line at the moment. He does look like a player who's going to need a focal point to work off of. We did think at times that was going to be Olivier Giroud, but that really has never happened this season, where Giroud and Timo, who I felt could have worked together, really haven't. It's limited the game time of Christian Pulisic, who looks to be coming into a bit of form now. Callum Hudson-Odoi too, I'd love to see on that left wing, because I think he had such a great performance against Everton when he played there previously. We've seen performances against Atletico Madrid. I think it's very easy to forget how good Timo Werner was. This is, it'd be very easy as well to rule out what Timo has done good this season, even when he hasn't been scoring, as I said, that work rate, but also just exploiting space. I mean, that Atletico Madrid game, which is one of Chelsea's best performances in many years, Timo was a big part of that, because Chelsea looked to play on the counter a bit more. We gave away a little bit more possession, and we looked to exploit with that fast front three, in particular Kai and Timo on that left. The first goal was a primary example of that, and did show Timo's creative side to his game. I mean, you can sort of question his sort of technical ability. You can't, he's not an Eden Hazard, he's not a Christian Pulisic. You can't give the ball to him deep near the halfway line and expect him to link up play and take 2 or 3 players out with dribbling ability. That's just not going to happen with Timo Werner. It's very clear what his game is, and I do think that's maybe the awkwardness at the moment. I do think maybe some of that could be solved by, say, a brilliant number 9, say like Romelu Lukaku. I think could really link up well with Timo and maybe offer him a bit more space. I just think it's a bit confusing, and I just think we have to wait and see what happens with Werner for the rest of the season. Obviously, that miss last night for his country in a massive moment, and like a few minutes later, Macedonia go up the other end and score the winner. That's obviously not going to help him. I still think on the balance, based on his last performance with Chelsea, because he didn't play at all against Sheffield United, he was completely rested for that game. Against Atletico Madrid, he had a really good night. So if Tuchel's basing it off of Timo's last performance, then he probably should be starting. But based on Pulisic looking a little bit brighter, Callum, Ziyech, Havertz, Mount now, who was suspended for the Champions League game, of course played in the FA Cup game, I really hope Timo gets going, because I do think he finds himself in good positions. I think the type of pace, it's not like his type of forward can't thrive in the Premier League. If we're looking at the modern game, the current game, Jamie Vardy and Aubameyang are probably the best examples. But in terms of Chelsea strikers, in terms of a number 9, we're much more used, and it seems like the DNA of Chelsea forwards is a bulkier forward. So I don't think Timo will ever be that focal point. I think he will have to play off someone like he did at Leipzig, and that's maybe where we can get him back to his best, like we saw at Leipzig and like we saw earlier in the season when he was putting the ball in the back of the net. Let me know your opinions on this Timo Werner situation in the comments below. And lastly, just going to react to the Chelsea leaked kit. I've spoken a lot about leaked kits in recent weeks. I was a little bit more relaxed, and I still hold to the the belief that I think you need to see this in person when it does get released. But I mean, I think it's a disaster. I really do. Now I'm seeing more and more pictures of it, and this was kind of my discussion with Jay McIntosh on my pod every other Sunday, which you can listen to, link in the description box below, where we spoke about kits and why they're just so bad at the moment. And I have to say, it's just such a mess of a kit. I mean, I don't quite grasp what the design process was for this in terms of a home kit as well that people really care about. That's going to be worn for the majority of the season. Most times we are going to be wearing this kit. It just looks like a complete mess to me, and I can understand why people are frustrated, not only by Nike but just modern kits, in terms of them not really having much sort of substance to them, not having much class to them. Not really. I mean, of course, we know the historical significance of yellow on a Chelsea kit with blue, but this doesn't. All the patterns on it to me really discard any sort of historical sort of meaning to it. To me, it's such a mess. It just doesn't look like a proper kit, a kit that should be worn by Chelsea players. I don't think many people will be buying this who don't usually buy kits, and surely that's not what Nike want. They want more people buying kits. And personally, for me, I think, if I was making the rules, I think people should vote for kits. I think season ticket holders and members should be able to vote for kits online, and Nike should give out 3 or 4 designs. That's never going to happen because Nike have paid so much. These big brands pay so much to make the kits for the club. So it's not really, as someone tweeted to me recently, they don't pay that much to hear what I have to say. But, that's just my opinion on it. Let me know your opinions on this kit. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know in the comments below. I think it's a complete mess, to be honest. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonOfChelsea. Have a great day, and I'll see you again.